Hi, you're listening to Playing Out from the Bar. Please be aware this podcast contains strong language.
I'm Jack Lacey, and then I could move over to you two, and you could say your names, and then I'd go, and together we are. I'm not sure if that'd be a good thing for us or not, really. Like, do you know what I mean?
If you can do that with a straight face, I'd be impressed.
I'm Jack Lacey, then you come in and I'm Lewis Dawson, and I'm Lewis Trout, and together, and we all say it at the same time.
I feel like you're making it sound a lot more enthusiastic than it would come across.
Yeah.
At the time, we just do it really deadpan, like, bored on me.
That's almost like that, like, you know, when you get at school and you get told to say something with like enthusiasm, like you got to do it again.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you say good morning to the teacher and everyone mumbles it, and then you got to do it again.
And it's just like, that's better.
Yeah. I think the first go would be a bit like that. There wouldn't be much enthusiasm.
We'll try and record it for next week's. Right, let's go then. Hello everyone, welcome back to Playing Out from the Bar, episode 6 of series 2. Got it right this time. A podcast discussing and reviewing all the weird things in football, the sort of chat that should normally be reserved for the pub, if you haven't listened to us already. Dobby and Tricey are back with me in the virtual bar tonight. Welcome back, boys. I mean, it's been a while, hasn't it, really, since we last chatted. So, how are you both doing? Trice, I'll come to you first. What are you drinking this week, pal?
Hi guys, I'm on the Aldi Lager again. I think it's the rip-off version of Peroni. Rizzini it's called.
Beautiful.
I feel like I should get this off my chest though and apologise to you both, because we would have had an episode previously if I didn't fall asleep 10 minutes before we were meant to be recording last weekend. I think that's an example of what it's like living with a toddler who just exhausts you, and then once you get a chance to lay down, it's impossible to wake up.
I'm glad you've brought it to the table, Trice, because I'd have felt bad if me or Dobby had have called you out on it without your blessing, if that makes sense. But I feel like now you've acknowledged it, we can say. I mean, to be honest, mate, I think if it's not, it clearly wasn't meant to be a recording night that night. If it had, it's fate.
Yeah. It was. I was the one who received the message from Tricey's fiancée Jess to say he's literally passed out. I've been shouting him at the top of my voice, and he's just not responding. So I was like, honestly, don't worry, like let the man sleep. And then she sent me a photo of him conked out, and she captioned it saying something like full on arse out as well, just trousers. He did just look conked out.
Yeah.
Just fully clothed somewhere. I don't even know where he was. Like he was on the floor. Which one?
It hasn't gone that far, surely.
I was on the floor next to Alfie's bed, so my head was sort of like on Alfie's bed, Alfie's mattress, and then I was asleep on the floor.
We did risk you going full on Partridge on last week's episode if you came on.
Yeah, imagine if you had
fallen asleep at the bar. Yeah.
Stood up at the bar.
I think that would have happened. Definitely.
I'm
if
confused.
I'd had a beer. It's weird. It was one of them, where you wake up and you feel like a hangover's hit you. You've had like a deep sleep straight away, and you've gone into a hangover mode. Yeah, it wasn't great. So I've got to apologise to you both there for that.
No, don't apologise, mate. I don't think that would have been the best setting for our considering the last episode as well, where we were all getting out of it towards the end. Anyway, what I liked about it was when Dobby informed me that you were asleep, and he said, like, I've told Jess just to let him be. I was like, yeah, well, that is basically the only response. I kind of thought, what could we have done if we'd have gone, no, wake him up, let's get him up, I want to get this done.
Tell him we're starting without him.
You should have done like a live recording of Jess waking me up. That would have been quite good.
Oh, that was a good opportunity for getting some social media interaction. Actually, I should have thought of that. No, it's all good. Good to see you with us tonight. Anyway, mate. Dobby, what about yourself? Are you on the wagon or off the wagon tonight?
Yeah, I am. I'm on a Camden Hells. Yeah.
Nice. Playing it simple. straight back.
Pretty much. Not much else to add other than that.
That's good. I'm on the Warsteiner this evening, which is, I think I've mentioned it before, is a beautiful German premium beer. I know we've got some potential stuff in the pipeline with potential other beer partners, so I won't say too much. But
ooh, that's flirtatious.
I will say at this point, just before we get into any contractual stuff, I will wholeheartedly recommend Warsteiner and say that it's not. I've not been. I feel a bit like Partridge doing his chocolate oranges are available from Rawlinson, but Warsteiner is available from Sainsbury's if anyone wants it. It's lovely. So yeah, that's the sort of professional advertising you'll be getting if you do sign up to be our beer partner. But I mean, has anyone got any positives or negatives they want to bring to the bar before we get stuck in, boys?
Positives, few and far between, I think, to be honest, at the minute, innit?
We're still grinding through lockdown, aren't we? Just keeping on.
I mean, I am ready for this as always. It always comes around when I'm needing it, to be honest. Bit of a release. Last week was pretty tough. Alfie was at A&E with a head injury. So that was a day off work. He's fine now. But yeah, I think it's just feel a little bit like, come on now, I just want to get back to normal and get out again. And I can't be processing any sort of negative political bad news at the minute, which is sort of creeping back into the post-vaccination era.
That's a smart place to be, I think. Trice just trying to block it out. Yeah. Sorry, David.
I think for me, it does. It's tough and it's dragging on, isn't it? But it does. I've started to feel like there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And when like the new roadmap got announced the other week, at first I was not sceptical, but I thought, right, just don't get too ahead of yourself because things can change. But then I have found myself this last week just seemed to be booking and committing to a lot of things from April, May, and June. So. Which is quite nice because it is making me feel like I have actually got things now in the diary to like look forward to from like April onwards, which is nice. But then, so I have let myself loose a little bit, which is great because I've just not been able to look forward to like booking stuff and making plans with people for a while. But I mean, hopefully none of that comes crashing down. But I feel more optimistic at the minute than pessimistic. But who knows? But I feel like I needed that to just start. Rather than like holding off on things, just
at least it was something to cling on to, wasn't it? Even I was the same. I kind of looked at everyone seemed to immediately be like booking things or planning like the greatest summer ever, and I was kind of a bit, don't know, we're not quite at that point yet. But I think you're right. You've got to squeeze everything you can out of life at the moment, and if that means planning, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Like stuff gets moved again, like it has done the past year, so I think you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. I remember last summer when obviously we had like things planned back then, holidays, music events and stuff, and you were just getting refunded all this money because things were being cancelled, but you literally had nothing to spend it on. You're like, for fuck's sake, I generally want to go. I don't want the money. I want the experience. So now it's like just going the other way around. Just like, no, let's go for it. Let's just book stuff. Let's commit. Let's just be optimistic. What's the worst can happen? It'll be the same as last time round. But so I don't know. It's nice that like it does feel that every day is getting one step closer to like a more recognisable life, even if it is sitting outdoors with 5 of your mates, or then sitting indoors with 5 of your mates, then eventually being able to do everything. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. It's progress, and so that's my positive. And I don't think we need a negative. We'll just take the positive.
I agree. That's good.
Still good about the positive.
Sentiment for the group this week. You've called that, don't we? We'll move over to the social corner just before we get stuck into the main meat of tonight's episode. And I suppose Trice, I should come to you for this really, because it's actually a bit of social media activity that we've provided on Playing Out from the Bar.
Yeah, well, there's no two ways about it. I've stitched you up, Jack. I've stitched you up. For the listeners, basically, I was going back through a few episodes. So I was listening to the fan one and got Jack's chants on, and I thought it just stuck in my head, the Mikel Moreno song. And then when I was at work the other day, Blondie Maria came on my playlist, and
Great tune.
I sang to myself Mikel Merino instead of the actual
Yes.
words. So like it implanted in my brain that much, and I thought I've got to put this together somehow. So if you check our Twitter, we've got a lovely clip of Jack actually merged into that song.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you've stitched me up only because it's at the worst possible point. I feel because you play enough of the actual Blondie Maria original that you just think it's going to be that, and then it's kind of like cutting from nowhere for me. I don't think that's what people were expecting when they started that clip.
The other thing's like you kind of miss the original context of you singing it, and it does feel like it doesn't. None of it shows that the reason why you were singing it is like a real or no real like chant. It just sounds like you're trying to propose this is an idea, and then we're both just sat there going no. No, as in like
you're very definitive on no on it, don't you? Like, and listening back, I really messed up by giving the last few lines because I think if I'd have left it on the chorus, I might have got one of you to say it was a real chant.
But even when I listened to that clip, I generally thought I was saying no to like just the idea of you creating the song. But I was actually saying no to it not being a real song. But it just sounds like I'm just going
shutting me down.
Yeah, like, no, Jack.
Jack, please stop. No, we had, but didn't we have some sort of like speaking of famous football faces? We had some correspondence on it, didn't we, Trice?
Yeah, Guillem Balahay, the Spanish correspondent.
I'm glad you pronounced his name because I struggle with it.
That is right, isn't it?
No, that is right. That's what I mean. I just always mess it up. Yeah.
Someone's 9 out of 10, that.
Someone's been on the Duolingo, hasn't they? Yeah, he liked it because I thought, well, I'm going to tag in Mikel Moreno here and basically say, well, anything Spanish, Guillem Balahay's the man in my eyes. So definitely. I thought I'm tagging him in, see what happens, and he actually engaged with it and gave it a like and laughed.
He'll be getting that going
chuckled to himself.
He'll be getting that going in the boozers, won't he, when he's back in?
Is he at Real Sociedad now, Mikel Merino? Is that where he's at, Jack?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's genuinely a really key part of their team as well.
So there is a chance that this could bang in the Basque region.
I think he's been in maybe not the last few Spain squads, but definitely this season he's been called up by Spain a few times. So yeah, he's definitely very on the way up more than he was at Newcastle, to be fair now. And on the note of, because we're going to be talking later tonight about seeing people from the world of football out and about in normal life. On the note of Guillem Balaguer, I once heard a rumour that he was in the Lonsdale pub in Jesmond back when I was living in Jesmond, and I didn't see him myself, but I was sat in the pub, and I don't know if either of you two can remember the social media app Yik Yak.
What a great app, by the way.
For those who don't know, Yik Yak was basically just... Was it all just like anonymous? You just posted whatever you wanted, but it was all location specific. So it was people within like a 2-mile radius. And somebody just posted, "I've heard he's in the Lonsdale." I never saw him, but
I mean, if you're taking that as a source, Jack, then. But saying that, I don't know why anyone. Well, I've got a few questions. One, like, why would anyone make that up? Because it is just such a random name in a random place. And two, why has he decided to somehow get himself to West Jesmond and then go in the Lonsdale?
Can't really. He doesn't strike me as a Lonsdale sort of guy.
I know it's not. We're not talking central Newcastle. He's like 3 metro stops out of the centre, and it's not even the first place on your list in Jesmond. If anything,
it's not the most glamorous
of
locations. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they did a quiz night. Maybe he was there for that.
Possibly. Yeah. I was sat there at the time. I didn't actually see him myself, so I sort of saw it on the phone and started looking around the pub. But didn't see him. But there are multiple floors at the Lonsdale for anyone who's been there. So yeah, it could have been true. Just another side note from the social corner, because obviously we've had the announcement recently that there's a Pele documentary out on Netflix. I don't know if either of you two have seen this yet, boys.
No, not yet.
A lot of people have been getting in touch saying it may shed evidence on the ongoing Pele bullshitting saga that was, key for us in Series 1. And, well, I don't really think it's a closed door yet. I still feel there's more we need to explore on it. So I will watch it, and I will wholeheartedly judge him fairly. I won't come with any prejudice. And just, I don't want to assume that he's made up any goals. So So yeah, let's give it a watch and let's reconvene on that. I think.
I feel like
you have to be careful there, Jack, because from some sporting documentaries, like I don't know if you've seen the Test, the Australian cricket one.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually found myself liking some of the Australian cricketers of how they come across on the big screen, but you've got to tell yourself it is a PR exercise in a way as well. So have that in the back of your mind. Don't be swayed and think, oh yeah, actually maybe he was telling the truth and I am wrong. Go in there with like your judgments that he may have editorial control.
Yeah, and think of the sort of people that are like sorting Pele's affairs out and like approving this sort of thing. Yeah, there must be.
They're not going to be interviewing the Coast Guard, I don't think.
No. I was the same with the Test. Actually, I was pretty hoodwinked by it.
I really liked.
I thought Marnus Labuschagne was a lovely man, and I hated him the summer before because he just came out of nowhere and did really. Anyway, we're not talking cricket, are we? But
if we are, I'd try to say that I would love to go for a beer with Justin Langer after watching that series. I was just he's. I think I could get along with him.
Before we move away from Pele, I've got just something to add to that. I found my hatred of Pele actually growing in recent weeks because during this lockdown and finding ways to amuse myself, I've reluctantly gone onto Ultimate Team, which I'm a bit of a retro gamer, so if I do FIFA, it's usually career mode.
This really disappoints me that you're now an Ultimate
I know.
Team.
I know. I think I'm just like one of them people who's trying to still stay relevant, still stay cool, and whatever the kids do.
Early midlife crisis.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, I'm on Ultimate Team and been getting into it because I've got nothing better to do sometimes. And Pele's on it as an icon or a Legends card, and obviously I don't have it, but a fair few other people do when you come up against people online, and he just feels like the most difficult player to play against, most overpowered player on the game, and like just I conceded a hat trick against him the other day, and it just made me dislike him even more. He just runs circles. He's just so overpowered on it. You've got this probably 14-year-old kid on the other end who's just running circles around me with his 92 rated Pele up front or something, now like it's just added fuel to the fire of this like hatred towards Pele. So
I mean, it's a different sort of reason, but I can get on board with anyone.
I hope you find dirt on him. That's all I'm going to say in this documentary.
I'll tell you what, I bet even an overpowered version of Pele on FIFA would struggle to score the sort of goal that they got recreated in CGI, where he flicks it over about 3 players consecutively and then volleys it in.
I feel like it's just such an unjust, like, overpowering as well, like, just undeserved because of what we've said previously.
What's his rating on it?
I can't remember. I think there's a couple of different versions, but I think the highest one's like the 90 odds in the low 90s. But it just plays like, I don't know. I'm not without going too FIFA geek on it all.
I can get on board with that.
I feel like I've gone full FIFA geek by using the word overpowered. I feel like that's not something that I should be like saying.
Also, just assuming
there's a 26-year-old man.
Icon cards. The main body of what we were going to talk about tonight was just about meeting people from the world of football, our favourite encounters, perhaps anything we reflect on and think what might have been, or just any bizarre encounters in general. So at the risk of sounding like I'm leading an AA meeting, who wants to get us started?
Well, I've actually done a bit of prep for the first time in a while, and I was going back through my memory thinking of the times I've actually met footballers, and there's 2 that spring to mind. So I've got one for Harry Maguire and Steve McManaman. Which one would you like first?
Some big hitters there, Tricey. I was kind of expecting, like, I don't know, I just wasn't expecting current England player. But yeah, go for Harry Maguire. Let's I want to hear about it.
Then.
So I'll set the scene. This is on a New Year's Eve in Deansgate Revolution in Manchester, and there was a few of us there. You know, done the standard, book a table, got ripped off. Anyway, me and my mate was outside and was talking cricket, and we just started drunkenly pretending we were playing cricket, and in the smoking area, and these Indian lads joined in, and they also started pretending that they were playing cricket with us. So we did like England-India, and then I dived to pretend to take a catch, and looked as I got up. Harry Maguire was there. I think he was a Leicester player at the time, and he might have only had like 2 caps for England. And I just looked at him and went, really drunkenly, he had this fear in his face, like, oh my god, this guy's going to give me some grief here. I just like, Harry Maguire, England legend. Nice to meet you. And he just looked at me like...
Were you still on the floor at this point, Trice?
No, I was from like my knees standing up position, and yeah, he was there with his mate, and I just went, Harry Maguire, England legend, pleasure to meet you. And he just looked at me and was like, all right. and then I pretended I was playing cricket again.
Well, you went back to the
cricket.
Can I just say it, Josh?
Should have gave him a silly point. Joining in, Harry.
Got Harry Maguire back pad.
Was there a ball involved, or was it just like literally like?
I think that where it is, there's like there's obviously a lock there. So I think we were playing with like a bottle cap and a bottle originally, but then the game developed into just sort of like imaginary one. It was just to get a break from the pop chart music. I think
was this on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, you may have been present.
I was there. Yeah, there was. Yeah, that was complete. Like no, there was when I was, because I played a few overs, and there was definitely, we weren't using anything other than imagination.
It did originate with bottles and bottle caps and playing one hand one bounce, but then I think it sort of developed into just.
I'll be honest, mate, I'm glad you switched to the imaginary form, because I think playing with a bottle and bottle cap in a smoking area on a night out after a few drinks.
I remember leaving
disastrously.
I remember leaving the club actually, and then like everyone, because there was quite a few of us, and then a few other people followed, and someone was like, "Oh, Tricey just bumped into Harry Maguire in there." Or like someone else, I think Liam, like one of my friends, Liam, said he had as well, and I was like, "What, really?" And it was like, where we just come from? I was like, "Yeah, well, we're just playing cricket."
Liam was present with me, and he was the one that sort of was like, "Why did you say England legend? He's had 2 caps."
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Trust me, Lil, it will be. And this was pre-2018 World Cup, so when
bloody hell.
When he ripped it in the 2018 World Cup, I was like, oh my god, that was a turning point in his England career.
When Slabhead Mania kicked off, you were like, I always knew.
Met him in Deansgate Revolution, and I told him he was going to be a legend.
I love the idea of like Dobby coming out. I can't believe you were present at this as well, but how has this happened? But then
I was getting padded up when Tricey finished.
Yeah, I was thinking if you came out and just came on to bowling over, and then you just saw Harry Maguire stood next to Tricey in the slips, just like,
nice, Harry. I mean, to a lot of people, this may sound really weird, but I think it is. I think you'd be right in thinking that, and it's. There's only, so much New Year's Eve scene you can take when you're not really a pretentious wanker. So, got to do something to fill your time.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, where were you again? Was it Revolution? Did you say?
Yeah.
The sort of people in there. I mean, Harry Maguire. Well, no, maybe it is a sort of footballer scene. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a sort of like showy footballer, though, Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, at the time he probably didn't have too much to worry about, but. Yeah, I mean, it does seem a bit of a strange place on like New Year's Eve to get a footballer, because you're putting yourself out there a bit, aren't you?
Yeah,
like,
he definitely wouldn't go in
with
there
those
now.
common
I don't
folk.
think. Like,
no, he was
capped it and he'd be mobbed surely.
Yeah,
he was only a few months into his Leicester career, I think. So it was.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I think he was like, I think he was possibly injured or suspended or something around that time. So it wasn't like he had a New Year's Day fixture.
Could have got a scoop on him being out playing cricket in the early.
Sold the story to the Sun.
Is that where the interaction ended then, Trice? Did he just say, after he said, all right, that was as far as it went? Yeah,
he just looked at me like a complete piece of weird shit and said, all right.
I think that makes it more fitting, though, if anything. I'm just disappointed that Dobby wasn't able to spot him as well.
I know, I didn't see him. I remember hearing about it like shortly afterwards and being a bit like, oh, right, really? Yeah, and that was... I don't know, it was late on at that point, so that's just the first time I've remembered hearing about that in about 4 years. So. First time I remember that game of cricket in about 4 years as well.
Woke
Yeah,
up the
to
next
dig
day,
deep
didn't
in my
remember
memory for
either of
that.
them. But then 4 years later on the podcast, oh yeah, you were there.
I can't believe an external group also decided to get involved in this as well. Like, it wasn't just between
Yeah.
like, our group of friends.
England
It's
versus, like you said, so we did England versus India. It's like, oh yeah, as if you were. It was just naturally assumed.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. I guess while we're still on the night out theme, then I'll share one of mine. Because I was thinking about this, and I couldn't really think of many. I'm sure there's times where I've just casually seen people, but I don't know. I've never really been really been a person to approach footballers. So if I've ever seen them, just let them go about the business. And don't have that many great stories. But I was thinking back to being at university and on a Friday night out in Newcastle, which is obviously a bit of a night of not just students but a lot of like locals and people coming for the weekend. And post night out, McDonald's outside there about 3 a.m. Obviously pretty hammered. Just got chatting to. I don't even think I was originally. I think it's some of my friends, and I don't know if you were there, Tricey. I don't know if it was like friends from home who'd come up, but anyway, got chatting to this group of lads, and in this group of lads was a guy who was basically just claiming to be the Carlisle goalkeeper.
I was there.
And at this point, I think like we were all hammered. We didn't have a clue who the Carlisle keeper was, and we were basically just going like, "Nah, you're not," like just winding him up. And like he was so convinced he was. Like he literally was getting his Wikipedia page up to show us. But we kept going along with it, just going like, "Nah, that's not you." Like, no chance. But I just like looking back, I just remember like how like keen he was to just prove that he was that he was a keeper for Carlisle, and like how he was getting all his mates to like back him up, and how he literally got to a Wikipedia page coming up. But we were just that hammered. We thought, oh, we'll just wind him up. And I think then, like for years afterwards, I think at the time he was maybe like a reserve keeper. I can't even think of his name, or sub keeper, but I'm pretty sure we looked into him like a year or two afterwards, and it accumulated a few appearances. I don't know if he was still at Carlisle, but somewhere else. But yeah, that was just one that I remember. Just the drunk encounter with this keeper.
Did he give you his name, Dobby?
He did. I mean, he told us he was really trying to sell it to us that he was in fact a professional footballer, and he wasn't letting us go without like being sure that we believed him. But I can't remember his name. But I'm pretty sure it was Carlisle he was claiming to play for at the time.
You see me at
again.
reserve
I
game.
can't remember the details. We were talking 3 a.m. end of the night. But I do remember his persistency, and I remember our persistency and just basically going, nah, even when he got the photos up and stuff, going like, no, that's not you.
It's a good resemblance, but it's not quite you.
So that's like one of the only ones where I've ever really had, and I've actually engaged properly and tried to like maybe kind of have a bit of banter with somebody. But that is all. That's the only one I can really bring to the table.
Did you feel like you were sort of like putting him back in his place? Like, you're not the Carlisle goalkeeper, mate. No, you're left. No, you're left.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
I love that. That's the sort of thing I want. Really.
But I don't know how the conversation started, because I can't remember. Like I can't remember if I was there at the beginning of it or if I kind of joined halfway through. But so I don't know how it came about.
You wouldn't. Surely he doesn't just walk into McDonald's and say, "Oh, I'm the Carlisle goalkeeper." Like,
I
surely
think
someone's asked him what his
I feel
job
like
is.
he wanted.
I think one of our mates was Danny Dobby, who was a keeper or is a keeper, and I think the keepers' union was obviously attracted each other straight away.
They knew each other. They always know
each
each other. Goalkeepers, don't they? They can spot each other a mile.
Yeah, well, not even that they'd known each other, but you're right, Jack. They just have that vibe about them, like sonar. Like I am also a keeper.
Yeah.
So like when they're talking outside, 3 a.m. after a few beers with a McDonald's.
They just
the
naturally
waves
gravitate towards each other. I mean, that's a big that's a big old McDonald's in Newcastle as well. So I've kind of got an image of like, just like him shouting it across down the corridor. Like, I am the
outside,
Carlisle
I think, at this point. But good encounter, fun. I'm glad that we didn't give him the recognition that he wanted. It's quite nice that we fobbed it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's still there today. Like, God, I wish they'd have.
I feel like
he's
still going on nights out and still getting his Wikipedia page up. I wish I remembered his name. Actually, probably a good thing I don't. Because
I thought you were going to give me his name. I feel like there's a bit in Shawshank Redemption where at the start Andy asks what was the prisoner's name that died the night before, and they all just turn on him and like, it doesn't fucking matter what his name was. And I feel like that's what happened there when I asked Dobby what his name was.
Yeah, I feel like if I knew his name, then that'd defeat the whole point of this story. Like, I feel like I've like, stood my ground with all these years.
I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of naming him now.
But I'm sure I could go through Wikipedia and find him. But yeah.
Trice, did you have a Steve McManaman story?
Yeah, but it's not as good as the other two that have just featured. But it was basically, it was in Manchester shopping with Jess, and I am awful in any sort of shopping scenario, really. Like Top Man, Zara, or whatever, Topshop, not my scene at all.
Any of the shops.
Yeah, like I'd much rather be sat in Costa or a pub and just watching like Soccer Saturday than in a rush hour shopping centre. Hell for me. But so I was already like sulking a little bit in Zara in Manchester, and as I was coming down the escalator, going up the escalator, a bloke had exactly the same expression how I was feeling. Like he was being dragged around by his missus and didn't want to be shopping basically. And then, you know, like when you look at someone and you think, I recognise him. Where do you recognise him from? And before I could get a second glance, like he'd gone to the top, but then obviously seen him again, and I was like, that's that guy. Who is it? And then it was Steve McManaman, and I was like, bloody hell. But he had a face like a proper slapped ass because he just didn't want to be there, and you could tell that he was just like, oh, why did I agree to this? Like,
was his partner or whoever in front of him? Like,
yeah, he was sort of, and yeah, it resonated quite a lot with me because I felt exactly what he was feeling at that moment in time. But he didn't clock that I recognised him. So I mean, it avoided any awkward situation really. But
I feel like it would have been brilliant if this ended with you both sat on them like the sofas that are outside the
playing table football with table football outside the changing rooms.
Or if Tricey was just sat in like the nearby Weatherspoons or whatever, watching, he wouldn't be in Weatherspoons. Somewhere watching Soccer Saturday, and just Steve McManaman just came to sit next to him and just went, "All right," like just rolled his eyes.
Yeah,
shit day, innit?
Yeah. So that was McManaman.
I mean,
other than that, I'm pretty limited really.
It's nice to know that even footballers have to kind of endure that.
Yeah, that is actually
that experience.
It's also nice that you didn't approach him in that scenario, Trice, because I feel like, you know, you can tell when someone's pissed off. Like, I once saw Freddie Flintoff in a Costa Coffee in Newcastle just before a lecture, and he just looked, he was just giving off like, I mean, he's one of my sporting heroes in a way. Like, you know, Ashes 2005. Obviously, don't need to give any explanation really. It's just like he's a cricketing icon, but he just at that moment in that Costa in Newcastle, he just looked very glum, and I just thought, I'm not gonna bother him now. I can tell that he doesn't want to be bothered. So I think it's important to respect those boundaries. Actually,
I feel like I've got maybe a real like sad like view on meeting celebrities or footballers, but I just feel like if I go and say hello to them, they're not going to get anything from it, and I'm not going to get a lot from it really. Like, what am I going to get? Like, we're not going to like exchange numbers, and next thing you know, I'm best mates with so and so. So I'm always just like, I'll see somebody and I'll be like, oh, right. But I'll never think to even like approach them. I guess that's a real sad thing, because I guess some people would love to be able to meet
I think it depends how like important it is to you to be able to say, oh, I spoke to them, whoever is their hero. But if it's not important to you, then it's like, what are you both getting from it, I suppose.
If I had a few drinks, it's probably a different story. Like, but then again, it depends on if you're in a bar or something and there's loads of other people, you can get the gist that they've been going to be approached by loads of other people, and you don't just want to be another person who just ruins them, like adds a difficulty to the night. But I think if the setting was right and you thought like this is the right environment and you're not disturbing them, then I probably would I would be like, yeah, you know what? If I feel like I'm going to have a conversation out of them, like actually, funnily enough, not to like divert too much, but when I went to a Leeds, I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast. When I went to a Leeds away game once, we stayed at a hotel. When we went back to the hotel bar, we saw a former player, Noel Whelan, and one of his colleagues at radio, who does the radio commentary for Leeds. And we ended up sitting at the bar and having a few beers with them for a couple of hours, and that was really nice because we just chatted for like hours and just quizzed them on everything like Leeds United, and we got a load of good insight, and that was a good environment to kind of like see them in because there was no one else around. Whereas if you obviously saw him on the street, there's just going to be no benefit to me going up to Noel Whelan and be like, "Oh, Noel Whelan, ex-Leeds player, nice to meet you. I'm Lewis Dawson," and like, but that was nice to be able to meet someone in that environment. But I guess I haven't really had too many of them opportunities. That was probably the only one that I've ever had where it's just been that.
Did you get any like interesting information that you wouldn't have known otherwise, Doug?
I think they were really open about it because they obviously had a good insight to the club. It was when it was pretty much in a shit show as well under Massimo Cellino, and I think it made you realise that a lot of the rumours were true, and if not, there was a lot of worse things going on at the club at the time. Yeah, and you were like, shit, wow, that's mental. But it was pretty mad to be able to hear it directly from somebody as well who you knew, like, kind of knew the truth as well, and you were like, wow,
that's a real like inside scoop, innit? Because there's like so much been read about Cellino at that time, but even as fans, you wouldn't know exactly like what was going on. Then you speak to someone who's actually at the training ground. It's like,
but then just hearing their opinion as well about like people again who were so close, and actually hearing their opinion on things it's really nice. But anyway, I did divert a little bit. But yeah, that's the only real time I've had where I've had a good chance to meet a bit of a footballer and chat to him. I'm going to share one more story though from before I pass on, but because I did ask a few friends just if they had anything to share, and I asked one of my friends who I lived with at uni, Josh, just because he's got no end of confidence. So if I did feel if he ever bumped into a footballer, he would be pretty like proactive in trying to like strike a conversation or something, and so I asked him anyway, and he put, "Can think of a funny one where Edgar Davids was playing for Barnet at Morecambe and loads were outside wanting a photo autograph surrounding the coach. And he had these mad cornrows in his hair and he kept yanking them. and he said, please, someone stop pulling my please, someone stop pulling my hair." Which wasn't really.
People just milling around Edgar Davids, and Josh was just literally pulling his hair from the back, so he couldn't see who it was.
And I wasn't expecting that response from him. I thought he'd have like a real good, interesting one, but that's such a random response like that.
I'm surprised Davids didn't like turn around and lay one on him.
Davids is a bit aggressive, isn't he? That's good.
Well, he obviously doesn't know who he's doing it because he says, "Please, someone stop pulling my hair." So it's just like he knows it's happening.
Yeah, he's just like clearly upset by it.
Can't pinpoint who it is. But it just made me laugh just because of how stupid it was.
That is incredible. I can't believe that. I wonder if this is a problem that Davids has suffered with before, like whenever he's in a big crowd, whenever there's people milling around him, there's always someone pulling my hair.
I mean, I wish I had the confidence to go behind Edgar Davids and do that, but not a chance.
You were expecting him to give I struck up a conversation with him, and instead.
Yeah, I just thought, conversation, or just got chatting to someone, bumped into someone somewhere, and then that example came out. I was like, wow, nice.
So I'll give my encounter boys that I've brought tonight. There's a few I could have chose, but I know I've mentioned Alan Pardew a few times on previous podcasts. So sorry for talking about him again, but I am gonna now for the next 2 minutes. So picture the scene, but myself and two mates only just turned 17 on our way to our first music festival. It was up in Scotland, so we broke up the journey by staying over in Newcastle. Obviously, it was summer, so it was out of season. There wasn't a game to go to or anything. But we were walking around the city on like quite a nice summer's night, and I thought I'll just as it's their first time up, I'll walk up St James's. Obviously, I know you know it's right in the city centre, so it's not like you've got to get a bus out or whatever to it. You can just literally just walk up and see no one in the ground. I'm not sure what I was really expecting to show them, but we just walked towards like under the tunnel towards where the fans would go in through the turnstiles, and coming out of the glass office, my mate sees a dapper man wearing glasses and was like, it was like, who's that? Is that Pardew? And I just said, no, that won't be Pardew. I don't think they're back in training yet. And he was like, no, it's definitely Pardew. And I turned around and yeah, it was. There was Alan Pardew, and I mean, I don't know what I was wanting to say to him, but this is back when we just finished 5th the year before. So I was absolutely like, I was genuinely quite buzzing to see him, and just was like, yeah, just got a photo. Wanted to ask him about how pre-season preparations were going, all the normal stuff. He said they were in a good place, which they didn't have a great season, to be honest. But so not sure if he was just fobbing me off on that one. And then there was like a car in the distance, and I remember that there was just like this glamorous woman sat in the passenger seat. And then it dawned on me after meeting Pardew, we didn't bother him for too long, but then I thought apparently he had a Swedish wife that I'd read about somewhere, and I think we just assumed that Pardew and his wife would be heading out on the Toon that night for something to... So like for the next hour or so, we were just like saying like, should we try and find him? Should we see where he is in the city? Which is completely pointless because we'd literally just met it, and whatever was going to be said was said in the short meeting we'd just had. So I'm not sure why, but like for the next few hours, we were kind of just walking aimlessly up and down Grey Street and around the city, and just like, oh, he might be in here. Should we go in? Should we go have a look? Never did see Alan again that night, but it was just like the sort of the theme of the night was just like, oh, I wonder what Pards is up to. Like, let's go and have a look. He might be still knocking about.
You'd spot his suit before you'd see him, Jack, I reckon.
Yeah, he did. I have to say, I thought at the time he looked quite dapper, but maybe.
I wonder where he did end up that night.
I think there were rumours that he liked to have a few house parties back in his Newcastle gaff.
Was hoping for an invite.
Yeah, we were quite keen for an invite. I mean, we obviously weren't able to obtain that. And that was actually the second time I'd bumped into him, because a year previously, before a game against West Brom, there was a photo opportunity of him and John Carver in the car park a few hours before the game, and as my mate was taking the photo, I think Pardew said to no, it wasn't Pardew, it was John Carver said to me, "Oh, you're very tall, aren't you? Are you a basketballer?" And I just responded with, "No, I'm a centre half." And then there was just a pause as the photo was taken, and just this awkward moment. And I'm not sure what.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Cheers.
I'm not sure what I was trying to get from that interaction. Whether I thought, I mean, I was only like 16, so maybe I was thinking, oh, maybe they could still sign me at this point. Like if I show them that I'm a capable centre half. Yeah. But sadly didn't happen. But good to clarify with John Carver that I'm not a basketballer. You know, I was in fact a centre half.
What a random thing for him to ask. Yeah, John, I'm an avid basketball fan, and I'm stood here getting a photo with you.
I also think, yeah, just assuming someone plays basketball because of their height. I mean, that's and perhaps it's because John Carver's not the tallest himself. Maybe it was just he felt a bit, I don't know, insecure about it. But yeah, no, they were two of my favourite meetings. The other one I wanted to just mention as well, because I needed to raise this with you two, is that at a party a few years back, after quite a few beers, I was introduced to a former Premier League referee, Neil Barry. I don't know if either of you two have heard of Neil Barry, but
rings a bell.
He kind of comes from like the Uriah Rennie, Andy D'Urso, Paul Durkin era of referees.
Jeff
early
Winter.
noise. Yeah.
The glory days.
Glory, standard Jeff Winter, mate. I think he mentioned something about Jeff Winter at the time, but I was basically like quizzing him. I got like good, half an hour of just chatting to him about football, and it was genuinely quite interesting from what I can remember of like speaking to someone kind of on the real inside of the top flight. Like asked him which players were horrible, and he said Bellamy and Savage were horrible, and I thought that's to be
standard.
expected. Like, I'd expect them. And he said, yeah, they gave constant abuse. But then he said Ruud van Nistelrooy, which always shocked me because I just thought Ruud van Nistelrooy seemed like a really nice guy. But the odd part of the meeting, what I wanted to ask about was that halfway through the conversation, I remember, and it stayed with me, that back in the 2002-2003 season, it's February, Newcastle are right in the title race, hosting Arsenal, and Laurent Robert's just scored a belter of an equaliser. So it's like it's 1-1, but Newcastle are on top. I think if we'd have won that game, I think we'd have gone joint level on points at the top with Arsenal. And Neil Barry's the referee, and he sent off Laurent Robert for the most minor thing. Like, watch it on YouTube. I'll put it in the link with the description of this episode. He basically gets sent off for not allowing a free kick to be taken quickly. Robert's just standing in front of a free kick, and gets a second yellow for that. And that, I do think that single moment completely killed what chance we had of winning the league that season. And as I remembered this in the conversation with Neil, I was like, do I bring this up? Can I say this now? What will his reaction be? So I don't know. Should I? I kind of bottled it, to be honest, by not saying anything. But I've always wondered, like, do you think that was the right thing to do? Should I have mentioned it?
Yeah, good question. Well, he's obviously sent off a lot of players if he's been a Premier League referee. So he might give you the old, every fan's got a story of when I sent someone off and it affected their season. So just, cut me some slack. Or he might really remember it and be like, yeah, that was the right decision. Do you know what I mean? If he stood by it. If he got really defensive about it, Jack, it could get really awkward there. So I think... I don't know.
I feel like you're in the same boat with me, Trice. You'd have probably just let it go, wouldn't you?
Possibly, yeah. But I don't know. I can't really think off the top of my head a refereeing decision affecting my team that much. So I don't know if I'd be able to cling on to it enough. But
yeah, I like the idea, Jack, though, that if you not realising that it was him, and then like as the night progresses, you're getting more and more drunk, and then it gets to 2 a.m. and you're like, you know what, we're gonna have this out now. And you go over to him and you call him out on it. And then it just all comes out. The room goes quiet. Everyone's just stood there. You're just demanding answers. You got the YouTube video up.
To be fair,
you have to take him out over to a corner somewhere so you can show him this YouTube video.
Demand get him answers. Out. Right, me and you outside. I want to show you this now, Neil. I did it wasn't perhaps 2 a.m, but it was like later on in the night. Like, I definitely had a few hours of being like, oh, Neil Barry's there. I wonder if I'll go and speak to it. But it's just...
You should have walked... Was you already talking to him by the point you remembered this decision?
Yeah, that was the thing.
You should have just dropped the conversation and walked away. Sorry, Neil, we can't be friends anymore.
I felt like we were making a really genuine connection as well. I felt like for a few minutes he could be my friend. Like, that's how... He was telling me some great stuff about just little... bits about being a Premier League referee, and I just thought this is a great moment, and then just remembered that red card against Arsenal. And I think he actually gave another dodgy 50-50 decision against Newcastle that year. Well, not even 50-50, worse than that against us. So
was that the game, Jack, where Dennis Bergkamp scored that goal?
That was the season before, actually, mate. But very close in terms of...
See, Jack, I think I would have quizzed him in a very polite way. I don't know how it would have made me feel, but I think I'd have asked the question.
But I think that makes me filled with regret. But then I think, like Tricey says, if he'd stood by his decision at that moment, years later, over 10 years later, and he was still standing by his decision, it would have just made... I mean, what would I... If I'd then gone, well, you were wrong. You were wrong.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Neil, but you are wrong.
I appreciate you speaking to me tonight, but you are definitely wrong.
The more I think about it, the more I think the stigma of a Premier League referee, I think they remember almost every card they hand out to people.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a striker would, like a striker getting to 100 club. I reckon referees have milestones in their career, card-wise, and I think that he'd struggle to let it go. If he was really passionate about it, Jack, I think he'd struggle to let it go and be, he wouldn't make a joke of it. I can't see a Premier League referee ever coming out and saying, yeah, got that one wrong or whatever.
No, because like Bobby Robson was questioning the decision in the post-match interview, so it's like I think he took a fair bit of flack for it, Neil Barry, and yeah, perhaps he's like, yeah, no, stand by it. He was obstructing play. He was blocking the ball. So
stuff being a referee.
Yeah,
that's just anxiety levels to absolute max, isn't it?
That's
Could you
the
be
other
asked
thing.
waking up on a Saturday morning thinking, "Oh shit"?
I kind of thought like
Can't go get yelled at for 2 hours.
Like part of me wanted to say something just because of what a sort of pivotal moment it was in probably the best Newcastle season I've ever witnessed. But then also part of me was like, do I want to be that person who's like, do I want to be that fan who's questioning a refereeing decision, not just at the time in the stadium, like that's one thing, but years after it's happened, when he's retired and he's on just a night out, like does he still want to be getting old decisions brought up?
Because in truth, his answer should be like, Jack, give me a break, I was doing my job 8 years ago. It's like me going up to like an old, you work for a company, bump into like one of the old finance directors for 8 years ago. You want to really question them about some decision they made.
You really
you
got
stand
the
by
ball
that
on the
decision that you made. It's 8 years ago. Get over it.
Exactly. I can't. You're spot on. I think I did the right thing in that scenario. And
you let the manager have a good night.
I let him have a good night. We had a few beers together, and I got an interesting insight into a Premier League ref. And he's, they do a tough job. So yeah, it wasn't my place to begin with.
If you ever bump into him again or another ref or any of us, I'd like to get a bit of an insight into a referee's weekly schedule, like Monday through to Sunday.
Yeah.
I want to know what they're up to.
What, in terms
like,
of the just training or just
everything? I'd like an Amazon documentary on referees. I think that would be absolutely brilliant. Like behind the scenes, seeing them at home, seeing them do it. Like I actually have no idea what a referee does between Monday and Sunday.
No.
And I'd love to find out more.
That is actually not a bad shout. I genuinely think that could get made. Yeah, just like seeing them go about their business. What do they get abused in the street? I'd hope not, but it'd be interesting to find out. Maybe I could get Neil on the podcast. I might reach out to him if he's probably forgotten the interaction, to be honest. But if he hasn't, we'll definitely get him on at some point.
Yeah, so I thought rather than just our own stories, I'd dig in to find out what we can find online about other people's experiences and meeting footballers. And as you would suspect, there is a Reddit thread with hundreds of comments.
I'm laughing already because I just know Dobby's going to pick some corkers on this.
Well, I feel like I've not really. I feel like if I did sit there for hours, there would be some absolutely ridiculous. Like I did read some and I thought that is just not true. Like there is a real. There's like a 4-paragraph area, and I didn't even screenshot it in the end because I was like, I don't think it's true. It's going to take me 10 minutes. Like whilst it's funny, it was just about. And basically, it was about. Sorry.
You're going to tell it now. Go for it.
Do you want me to? Oh, I can't because it's like I might do in a minute, but I'm not going to start with that anyway because I've lost it. So I'll have to just sit here in silence while I try and find it. Yeah. Anyway, so just an insight into like the ridiculous things you get in there. There was this one guy who's put this like 3 paragraphs on meeting Wayne Rooney in a grocery store in Fulham. And basically goes on to explain how Wayne Rooney was just cutting him out during his sentences by going her, and you doing hand gestures, and then apparently chuckled and farted as this guy walked away. And the best bit in it was when I came to pay for my stuff up front, I saw him trying to walk out with like 15 Milky Ways in his hands without paying. The girl at the counter was very nice about it and professional. Was like, "Sir, you need to pay for those first." At first he kept pretending to be tired and not hear her, but eventually turned back around and brought them to the counter. When she took one of the bars and started scanning it multiple times, he stopped her and told her to scan them each individually to prevent any electrical interference, and then turned around and winked at me. And it goes on.
Oh, that's amazing.
But that part of it, I was just like, what the fuck? So, I mean, that's a bit of an insight into some obvious like stuff that's on there.
I love the idea that Wayne Rooney can't afford to pay for Milky Bars.
Just asking the woman to scan them one by one as well. Like the top marks for imagination on that one.
Oh, brilliant.
But anyway, a few more of the more realistic ones, I guess. I'll share a few now. So, this one guy, I ran into Raul once while I was going to take a piss at my old school, the British Council School in Madrid, which both of his sons attended. I just kind of stared at him in awe and said, "Hala Madrid." He smiled back. Real Madrid legend and cool dude overall. And his wife is sexy as fuck. So, this is about a guy meeting Raul in toilets. We've got a bit of a confrontation here. So I was once in a mass fight between Newcastle fans and a member of the Walsall first team / coaching staff, including the manager at the time, Paul Merson. And after someone threw a pork pie and it hit his daughter in the tit. So
So specific.
And then there's a comment on this as well saying Titus Bramble told me to F off when I was 14 and asked him for an autograph outside the Marriott in Gateshead.
To be fair, Titus had a reputation.
This is a nice one. In 2002, I stayed at the same hotel as Ronaldo, so obviously old school Ronaldo, during a holiday. He had just become world champion and was at the height of his career. I was playing volleyball in the swimming pool with some other guests, and he asked if he could join. Naturally, we didn't have a problem with that, and he played with us all afternoon. He was a very nice guy, but also very quiet. So
what? He was quiet during the volleyball game. Like they were expecting more from him, but he just wasn't shouting up or shouting like Ronaldo.
So. This another strange one here, if true. A friend of mine used to deliver papers to Mark Bosnich's house when he played at Aston Villa. So when he signed a pre-contract with Man United, we started to order loads of food to his house every time we were bored. Then Benito Carbone moved into his house, and we really liked him, so we didn't cause him any trouble.
I wonder what Benito Carbone was doing that Mark Bosnich wasn't, as like a good neighbour.
Yeah, I don't know, but it came with a smiley face at the end as well. So, and then the last one here, just a random one. I live in Manchester and therefore see players from City, United, Everton and Liverpool quite regularly on nights out and in restaurants. The best one, however, was when Javi Garcia had just signed for City. I went into Superdrug in Piccadilly Gardens to buy some shower gel, and he was wandering around there, in brackets, with his extremely fit girlfriend, with nothing in his basket other than 3 multi-packs of condoms and some hair products. I guess it was just strange to see someone like that in that sort of environment rather than nightclubs or a football pitch. So, the wonderful world of Reddit threads, and I'm sure
I need to see that, Dobby.
just out of the 300, there was some absolutely ridiculous ones.
I think we definitely need a game of like we vote for true or not true on more of those because they sounded good. Those, Dobby. I actually just on a side note, because you mentioned Manchester Piccadilly, the footballer I would like to meet the most, I've put down Pablo Zabaleta because I think he seems like a nice guy. But I actually saw him from a distance at a WH Smith in Manchester Piccadilly. So that's as far as it went. There was no further interaction. But if he's listening, Pablo, if he fancies a beer sometime, I'm up for that. Is there anyone you two boys would like to meet, footballer wise?
Good question.
You know what? I don't have anyone. I obviously was a bit of a downer on my comments earlier about my approach to seeing footballers. But no, there's no one really who springs to mind as like, who would I really want to sit down with? Is that what we're talking? Sitting down and actually like really digging into a chat with them, or we're talking bumping into them and being like, oh, I physically got to see them.
You get like to, you can go for a few pints with them, or you can have a day at the races together, or
right, okay,
go for a nice meal.
And you're saying Zabaleta for yours, Zach, are you?
Yeah, I just think he seems like a nice guy. I just think he's like, he just seems really sound. He'd have some good stories about like Balotelli and Tevez and that sort of era at City. I could see myself getting along with him. I like the way he plays as well. So yeah, Pablo.
I like that you're picking him on his playing style as well.
If you're listening,
nice. I like the way he plays. So he's
just gritty, isn't he? He's just like made of the right stuff. Gets stuck in. He's the sort of person you want with on a night out. He's not gonna like cause you any hassle.
I'd like to meet and have a few pints with Dave Seaman, actually. Now I'm thinking of it.
I think you and him would get on well, Trice, actually.
Yeah, I think we would. I think sort of northern sense of humour, but he's
he's got like a great laugh, hasn't he? Like, he laughs after everything he says.
And I just think give me a good vibe actually. But I'd also have a lot to ask him about his England career, and probably the most gutted I've ever been was seeing England lose in 2002. Because I was convinced as like a 6, 7, 8-year-old, however old we were, that was the moment that we were going to win the World Cup. And I would just like to ask him about Ronaldinho's free kick and what happened, and did he get injured or what? Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of and why the ponytail throughout the career, I'd like to ask as well.
Also, he became a really good ice skater.
Strictly,
I think he absolutely bossed dancing on ice, didn't he, after his retirement? So I'm not saying that would be the lead of the conversation, but he's got a few villas in Portugal and Spain as well. I think he's big into his property. So
I think he'd have good stories from that Arsenal Tuesday club as well, from when he was...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Random, but when I was about 10, for some reason, I had a David Seaman... I think it might have been a biography. And I remember reading that as like a 10-year-old, and I have no idea why, because we have no real interest in David Seaman at all. I don't think I ever properly read it. It was just, I remember it just being on my bedside table for like a year, and every now and I had one of them books that had pictures every 50 pages, and I picked it up every now and then.
It's one of those books how did it ever make its way into the house, let alone...
Yeah, I have no idea where it came from, because I
Well,
definitely
then we
didn't
read.
pick it up, but it was there, and it was on my bedside table.
Nice. Good stuff, boys. Tricey, have you? I know you've got one more story to round us off before we close time at the bar.
Yeah, so obviously touched on who would like to meet, and I think I spoke to my dad about this, and he was wrongly accused of being a footballer. Some Scottish people thought they were meeting their hero, Terry Butcher, and I can see why. On holiday, my dad, grey hair, bit of a...
I've not seen
weathered...
that, Tricey. Is the resemblance there?
You could see it, I think, and my dad said this story to me. He was like, yeah, I remember these people just staring at me for a few days on holiday, and they were obviously Scottish but didn't have the courage to come and ask what they were thinking at the time. And then as the week progressed, and one day these people just got really drunk and just came over and was like, sorry mate, are you Terry Butcher? My dad didn't sort of confirm or deny that he was, and there was if so, we'd just like to really thank you for what you did at Rangers. Apparently my dad just went, oh, cheers.
I love that. Well, how is he not? What's the instant where he's not confirming or denying it? What's his response? Just sort of sat there.
I think he quite enjoyed the attention. Maybe I don't know. Funny though. They'd obviously if it was today, they'd be having selfies with him and stuff like that, and then realising the day after that it wasn't Terry Butcher.
He's done some great work with Rangers. That implies that they're Rangers fans as well. And it's if you were Rangers fans and you're coming over and you don't know if it's him or not.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be pretty pissed, I think.
They must have had a few, yeah. Good stuff, boys. Well, I've enjoyed running through our little slightly odd meetings and bump intos with people from the world of football tonight. I think that's a good place for the bar to shut, and I'll see you both on the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
See you soon, chaps.
Cheers, Dobbs. Cheers, Tricey.